Good evening and welcome to tonight's video, which will be about the freedom of the self of the ego. The reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because that I personally know how hard it is on this spiritual journey when we are supposed to choose to go all in with our higher self, the self that is the soul, and the self that is the complete opposite than the ego. The self that comes from that everything is abundance, that you give to others, you don't have to be afraid of not getting yourself, the self uh, that loves unconditionally despite if you are loved back or not, the self that see through and look through other people's behaviors in all matters, the self that is truly just in awe and in complete joy and in love with life. That is the self that we want to go with, but most of us have another self, the ego self. Everyone has an ego self too, but many of us start out on a journey where we're very, very fearful and we are afraid about losing the little that we think we have. So we hold it very, very tight, the behaviors and patterns that we think has given us something, even though that it may not have been good for us, or even others maybe at times. So I want to talk about a bit about the benefits about giving up what we treasure, what we think we treasure, so that we can truly receive something else, because it is just like with everything else. I can't, if I'm already full, I am not open to, I don't have any more space to receive anything new, so before that we can truly get a real spiritual awakening and feel that we are living with our soul, we have to remember that we don't have to add anything. What we have to do in order to become who we always are and always will be, and who we will bring with us even when we're not in this body anymore, is that we just have to take away what is not of us and what is false. And what is false is the ego. The ego is the falseness is in us. The ego is the illusions in us. It doesn't mean that it haven't served us at times. That's not what I'm saying. I do believe, and I've seen that in my own life, that the ego actually is a way of coping many times, and it has helped me to survive many times also. But when I started on my spiritual path, I was in a safe place. So I just talk about myself now. So for me, I didn't have to hold on to these survival patterns, but even though I didn't need them anymore, then I still had to work very, very, very hard to be willing to let them go, because it felt like, you can almost say, an emotional, like I was putting myself in danger when I was not holding on to what I knew had helped me before. And we all have those kind of patterns. Some are stronger than others. And depending on what we have been through in our lives, it also is different things, and who we are and the circumstances and environment and all of that. But the pain is often the same. And that is why that we can see a person who is doing something, for example, we see a person that smokes, and the person is knows the risks of smoking, but they're still smoking because of the false emotions that they are experiencing. But for them, it's real. I've been a smoker myself too, so I know how it feels, you know. And it wasn't before that I was actually emotionally realizing um, what I was doing, that I was able to quit. It has nothing to do with the cigarettes. It was all about the false comfort. So yeah. So when it is that we are on this journey, as I said, and we are seeking true freedom, freedom from within, then it is always on the expense of the ego. And that is the whole game of the spiritual journey. It is a constant struggle between the ego and the soul, and what we choose. It doesn't have to be a struggle. We don't have to struggle as much as we think, if we just are willing to be honest towards ourselves, um, brutally in advance. Then we don't have to struggle for as many years as we may think we need, because we never seem to hit that rock bottom. We can actually lift that rock bottom if we are realizing what it is doing to us, and that we see through our illusions. So the freedom of the self, the ego self, I would say, if you haven't started your journey, according to my experience, it is all worth it investing all the time that you have, that you are able to give into um, your personal development, and dig deep within yourself. Because the treasure that you will find when you find your own soul is nothing you can compare to anything out there. It doesn't matter what work you have. It doesn't matter how many prizes you will win or whatever you're doing. I don't care how successful you are. There's no bigger prize than giving up the struggle between the ego and the soul, and that the soul has actually won and you are in full contact with your soul. And the feeling of getting there is everything that I think that any human truly wants. It is the only thing we want. So every minute we invest in ourselves and in seeing through our darkness is worth the effort, because that is the only goal that anyone has in the end. I do believe that the only thing that a human truly wants is just to be in alignment with themselves. And then the means that we think we need to have, or what we think we need to achieve to get there, that is different from different people, but it is in the end the same goal. And that is why I love people so much today, because I can recognize this desire and just pure intention from most people, that the only thing they truly want is just to be loved, to feel loved, and to somehow come back home to themselves and feel that they are okay. So the freedom from the self is winning yourself. You know, in the Prayer of St. Francis, it says, like, it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. And we have to remember this day every day when we are on a spiritual path. because it does feel like we are dying many times. But it is with the reward of that we are actually reborn also. We are reborn, he says, to eternal life. I would say we are reborn to be our true selves. The true self, the true self is the self that is one with everyone and everything, the all, so to say, God that exists in everything, in the flower, in the grass, in the people, in the animals, in the air, in the fire, in everything. And when we can feel just complete and at peace, then we are home, no matter the circumstances, and we realize what life truly is for. Life is not here to please us. Life is here for us to experience, and for us to experience who we are. And we experience who we are in the contrast of life, where we get to choose who we want to be, where we get to choose if we want to be our ego, if we want to fulfill ourselves in the image of our soul. And the soul is always what is calling us home, and it is always there that we find true peace. So, but it is with the sacrifice of the ego. And I just want to say today that it is worth it. If you're struggling right now with yourself and you find it hard to continue, I just say to you that it is worth it. And I know how hard it can be, but I also know that it is worth it. So that it was just what I wanted to say today. Okay, I love you so much, and I wish you a good